Did you know that the nothing from which our universe sprang might not have been nothing at all? Before the Big Bang, before time, before space itself, what was there? This is not just a question for philosophers or priests. It's a question that now pushes the very limits of science. Physicists, cosmologists staring into the abyss of creation, and what they are finding is more mysterious and more profound than they ever imagined. The silence before creation is deafening, and it forces us to ask the biggest question of all. Was there a plan? Was there a planner? This single question has haunted humanity for millennia. We have looked to the stars, to the mountains, and to the depths of our own souls for an answer. For most of history, faith provided the narrative, but then science arrived, offering a new way to understand our world. It gave us telescopes to see across galaxies, and microscopes to see the building blocks of life. Prepare yourself. For centuries, science and religion have been portrayed as enemies locked in a battle for the soul of humanity. Think of Galileo, forced to renounce his discovery that the Earth revolves around the sun. This story has become a powerful symbol of faith-suppressing fact. The narrative is simple. Religion is based on belief without evidence. Science is based on evidence without belief. One looks up to the heavens for answers, the other looks through a microscope. You must choose a side. But is it really that simple? What if this supposed war is just a misunderstanding? What if both are different languages trying to describe the same ultimate reality? Many great scientists saw no conflict at all. Isaac Newton discovered gravity. Newton wrote more about theology than physics. He used science to try to understand the mind of God. He saw laws of motion as a testament to a divine legislator bringing order to the cosmos. He wasn't alone. This idea persists today. Francis Collins, former NIH director, Human Genome Project leader. He is scientifically rigorous. He is also a man of faith. He sees DNA's code as a confirmation of faith. He calls DNA the language of God. These are not fringe figures, giants in their fields. Their discoveries enrich, not destroy, spiritual belief. So, how can this be? For most of human history, the universe was thought to be eternal and unchanging. This was the prevailing scientific view for a very long time, even supported by Albert Einstein. An eternal universe needed no creator, no moment of creation. It simply was. But then, in the 20th century, a series of discoveries turned this entire idea on its head. An astronomer named Edwin Hubble noticed something strange. He saw that distant galaxies were all moving away from us. The farther away they were, the faster they were moving. This was a bombshell. If everything is moving apart now, it means that in the past, everything must have been closer together. If you rewind the cosmic clock far enough, all the matter and energy in the entire universe must have been crushed into a single, infinitesimally small, infinitely hot, infinitely dense point. Then, in a flash of unimaginable energy, it all exploded outward. This event was given a name, initially as a joke, but it stuck. It was called the Big Bang. The universe, science had discovered, had a beginning. This discovery was deeply unsettling for many scientists at the time. A universe with a definite beginning sounded suspiciously like the creation stories found in ancient religious texts. The book of Genesis, for example, begins with the words, "In the beginning." Astronomer Robert Jastrow, a self-proclaimed agnostic, wrote about this moment with stunning honesty. He said, "For the scientist who has lived by his faith in the power of reason, the story ends like a bad dream. He has scaled the mountains of ignorance. He is about to conquer the highest peak. As he pulls himself over the final rock, he is greeted by a band of theologians who have been sitting there for centuries. The Big Bang Theory poses a monumental question. What or who caused it? If the universe had a beginning, what came before it? What lit the fuse? Science describes what happened a fraction of a second after the Big Bang, but it cannot explain the moment of ignition itself. The laws of physics as we know them break down at that point of singularity. This has led some scientists, like the Nobel laureate Arno Penzias, who co-discovered the cosmic microwave background radiation, the echo of the Big Bang, to see a divine footprint. He stated that the data he found was a perfect match for what he would have predicted had he nothing to go on but the first 5 books of Moses. Imagine you are playing the lottery. But this isn't just any lottery. To win, you must correctly guess a 100-digit number. The odds of you winning are so astronomically small, they are practically zero. Now, imagine you play, and you win. You would not just think you were lucky, you would suspect the game was rigged in your favor. This is the exact situation many physicists find themselves in when they look at the universe. It appears the cosmic lottery has been won, and the prize was our existence. This is the concept known as the fine-tuning of the universe. Scientists have discovered a set of fundamental constants and quantities in nature. These are numbers, like the strength of gravity, the mass of an electron, or the rate at which the universe is expanding. These numbers are not determined by any theory, they just seem to be built into the fabric of reality. Here is the shocking part. If any one of these numbers were just a tiny bit different, and we mean infinitesimally different, life as we know it would be impossible. The universe would be a sterile, empty void. For example, consider the force of gravity. If it were slightly stronger, stars would burn out too quickly for life to evolve on any orbiting planets. The universe itself might have collapsed back in on itself shortly after the Big Bang. If gravity were slightly weaker, stars and galaxies would never have formed in the first place. There would be no planets, no chemistry, no life. The same razor's edge precision applies to dozens of other constants. The British astronomer Sir Fred Hoyle, a staunch atheist for most of his life, was so shaken by this evidence that he said, "A common-sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a super-intellect has monkeyed with physics, chemistry, biology." One explanation is the multiverse theory. This idea suggests that our universe is just one of a vast, perhaps infinite number of other universes. In this sea of universes, every possible combination of physical constants is tried out. Most are dead, but by sheer chance, a few, like ours, happen to have the right numbers for life. The problem? There is currently zero physical evidence for the existence of other universes. It is a belief that requires a leap of faith. The alternative explanation for many is that the numbers were not an accident, they were deliberately chosen. The game was rigged by a designer. Our universe might be perfectly tuned for life, but that still leaves a gaping hole in our understanding. How did life actually begin? We know that planets formed, oceans developed, and a rich soup of chemicals existed on the early Earth. But, how did a collection of non-living chemicals, a bit of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, cross the seemingly unbridgeable gap to become a living, reproducing organism? This is honestly one of the deepest and most persistent mysteries in all of science. The transition from non-life to life remains an unsolved puzzle. Scientists once hoped the answer would be simple. Back in the 1950s, the famous Miller-Urey experiment showed that amino acids could form spontaneously, the building blocks of proteins, under conditions simulating the early Earth. This was hailed as a major breakthrough. It seemed for a while that we were just a few steps away from creating life in a test tube. But decades later, we are not much closer. We have learned that the gap between a few simple amino acids and the first self-replicating cell is a chasm of mind-boggling complexity. It is kind of like finding a few bricks and claiming you are close to building a city. A single-celled organism is not a simple blob. It is, in fact, a microscopic factory, filled with intricately designed molecular machines, all working together in perfect harmony. It contains a power station, a transportation network, and a central command center. All of this is controlled by a sophisticated information processing system, its DNA. The odds of such a complex, integrated system assembling itself by pure chance from a chemical soup are, according to many calculations, staggeringly low. So low, in fact, that some scientists have questioned if it could have happened even once in the entire history of the universe. This has led to a crisis in origin of life research. The late Sir Francis Crick, the co-discoverer of DNA's structure and a committed atheist, was so convinced of the improbability of life originating on Earth that he proposed a radical theory called directed panspermia. He suggested that the first seeds of life were sent to Earth in a spaceship by an advanced alien civilization. Of course, this does not solve the problem. It just pushes it to another planet. But it really highlights how even a scientist like Crick saw the origin of life as something so improbable that it required an intelligent, deliberate act to get it started. Let's dive deeper into the heart of the cell, into the molecule that holds the secret of life. DNA. Deoxyribonucleic acid, the most famous molecule in the world. Every living thing, smallest bacterium, largest whale, is built and operated by the instructions in this code. Think of it as a software program far more complex and sophisticated than anything humans have designed. A digital four-letter alphabet spells out the blueprint for a living being. When DNA's structure was discovered in 1953, it opened a new chapter in biology. The information it contains is vast. About 3 billion letters of code in a single cell. Printed out, it would fill about 1,000 volumes, not random data. Highly specific functional information. A detailed instruction manual for building proteins, the molecular machines that do all the work in our cells. Where did all this information come from? This is a profound question. In everyday experience, complex specified information comes from an intelligent mind. A book, a computer program, a hieroglyphic message. We never see software write itself. We never see a poem emerge from a random spill of ink. Yet materialist explanations require DNA's information to arise from unguided random chemical processes. This is a huge leap. Stephen C. Meyer argues in Signature in the Cell that this digital code is the hallmark of a mind. Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, said, "DNA is like a computer program, far more advanced than any software we've created." He knows software. The parallel is striking. A computer program is designed by an intelligent programmer to achieve a specific purpose. The DNA code appears designed to build and operate a living organism. Could the greatest programmer of all be not human? For some, this sophisticated, information-rich code at the foundation of life is the most compelling clue we have for an intelligent designer. Take a moment. Think about the color red. Think about the taste of a strawberry, the feeling of sadness, or the sound of a Mozart symphony. Now, where are those experiences? Scientists can scan your brain and see neurons firing. They can measure electrical impulses and chemical reactions. They can point to the specific region of your brain that is active when you see red. But they cannot find the redness itself. They cannot find your subjective, first-person experience. This is the great mystery of consciousness. It is the ghost in the machine. For all our incredible advances in neuroscience, we have no idea how the physical matter of the brain, a 3-pound lump of wet, gray tissue, gives rise to the non-physical world of thoughts, feelings, and awareness. This is known as the hard problem of consciousness. Science can explain how the brain processes information, how it controls the body, and how it responds to stimuli. That is the easy problem. But it cannot explain why it feels like something to be you. Why are we not just biological robots, processing data without any inner experience? This puzzle has led some prominent thinkers to question the purely materialistic view of the mind. Sir John Eccles, a Nobel Prize-winning neurophysiologist, spent the latter part of his career arguing that the human mind and consciousness could not be fully explained by the brain alone. He proposed that a non-material self, or soul, interacts with the brain in a specific region, giving rise to our conscious experience. He believed the mystery of consciousness required a supernatural explanation, pointing to a spiritual dimension of human existence. While most neuroscientists today would not go that far, the mystery remains. We are more than just the sum of our parts. We are not just chemical reactions. We experience love. We create art. We ponder our own existence. These are things that seem to transcend mere physical processes. Why should a universe of mindless atoms produce beings who can contemplate the universe itself? Is our consciousness simply a strange and useless byproduct of evolution? Or is it a clue that the universe itself is not mindless? Perhaps consciousness is not something the brain produces, but something the brain receives, like a radio picking up a signal. Have you ever stopped to wonder why science is even possible? The entire scientific enterprise is built on one fundamental assumption, that the universe is orderly and rational. It operates according to consistent, predictable, mathematical laws. The law of gravity works the same way today as it did yesterday, and it will work the same way tomorrow. It works the same way on Earth as it does in a galaxy a billion light years away. But why? Why should the universe be governed by elegant and understandable laws? Albert Einstein was deeply puzzled by this. He famously said, "The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. There is no logical reason why the universe had to be this way. It could have been a chaotic, lawless mess where things popped in and out of existence randomly. But it is not. It is a cosmos, not a chaos. It is a place where we can use our rational minds to uncover the very rules by which it operates. This deep-seated order is a profound clue that something is going on behind the scenes." Many of the greatest physicists, including Paul Davies, have pointed out this unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in describing the physical world. Why should abstract mathematical concepts, often invented in the minds of mathematicians, turn out to be the perfect language to describe reality? It is as if the universe were designed with a mathematical blueprint, and our minds have been given the key to read it. This underlying order has been interpreted by many, including scientists like John Polkinghorne, a physicist who later became an Anglican priest, as evidence for a divine mind. A law requires a lawgiver. The elegant and intricate mathematical structure of the universe, they argue, points to a rational creator who designed the cosmos in a way that it could be understood. It is as if God wrote the rules of the game and then created beings who could figure them out. The very fact that we can do science is, for some, the greatest evidence that science is not the only source of truth. We have journeyed from the beginning of time to the inner space of the human mind. We have seen how the Big Bang points to a moment of creation. We have seen how the universe appears to be exquisitely fine-tuned for our existence. We have confronted the monumental challenge of life's origin from non-living matter. We have marveled at the sophisticated information encoded in our DNA. We have wrestled with the profound mystery of consciousness, and we have wondered at the deep mathematical order that makes the universe understandable. None of these clues, on its own, offers definitive proof of God. Science may never be able to provide that. For every clue that points toward a designer, there is a counter-argument, a potential naturalistic explanation. Multiverse. Undiscovered law of chemistry. The fine-tuning could be a lucky accident in an infinite sea of universes. The origin of life might one day be solved by a theory we have not yet conceived. Consciousness could be an emergent property of the brain that we just do not understand yet. The debate is far from over, but the cumulative weight of these clues is powerful. It has become more difficult, not less, to be a confident scientific atheist in the 21st century. The simple mechanistic universe of the 19th century has vanished, replaced by a cosmos that is stranger, more mysterious, more finely balanced than we ever imagined. The evidence has forced us to ask the big questions with renewed urgency. It has brought science to the very edge of its explanatory power, looking out into a vast territory of philosophical and theological questions. Ultimately, where you land on this question is a personal journey. The data is the same for everyone, but the interpretation is not. Some will see these clues as compelling evidence for a creator, a mind behind the cosmos. Others will see them as puzzles that science will eventually solve without any need for the divine. But the question itself remains the most important one we can ask. It shapes how we see the universe, our world, and ourselves. Science has not eliminated God. If anything, it has made the mystery deeper, more beautiful, and more urgent than ever before. We are going to look at the evidence, not based on holy books or ancient traditions, but on the data, the mathematics, and the theories that form the bedrock of modern science. Soft sources listed in description. Thank you for watching.